Begin today in child's pose. Knees wide, toes together, hips sink back towards your feet, finding length in the spine and beginning to open up the hips. Connect with the breath here, taking deep inhales and deep exhales. This breath will guide you through your practice. Take another deep inhale and sigh it out. Feel how it fills your body, and as you exhale, let go of anything you might be holding on to today so you can be present in this moment, present in your body. One more breath. Sigh it out, and we'll make our way up to tabletop position, hips over the knees, and begin to take some hip circles, dropping back either towards the left or the right first, whatever feels best for your body. Maybe coming over the wrists to get a little bit of a wrist stretch. Just moving with your breath, feeling what your body needs. Take one more big one, and we'll go to the other side. Still just moving with your breath, connecting with your body, feeling what you need here today. Are there any places that are tight, anywhere that needs a little extra love? We'll come back to a neutral spine and begin some cat-cow breaths. Inhaling to gaze up, and exhaling to round the back for cow. We'll take another inhale, dropping the belly and gazing up for cow, and then another exhale to round the back. Take a few more rounds of these at your own pace, just moving as your body needs, feeling that connection between the breath and the movement. Continuing to inhale, and then rounding out the back to exhale. Make your way back to a neutral spine, and then engaging the right glutes, lift the right leg, toes pointed towards the ground. Find your balance and the left arm will float up. On an exhale, crunch in, and on an inhale, extend. We'll move through a few of these at your own pace. Just with each exhale, bringing the knee to the elbow and extending on the inhale. Continuing to move at your own pace with your own breath. Feeling that connection between the body and the breath. Crunching and extending on your inhales. Come back to neutral spine, and we'll do some donkey kicks, keeping the right leg lifted, kicking up, bringing it back down, kicking up, 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 feeling that glute activation, kicking up, and then out to the side, bringing the knee into the elbow, crunching it in, extending, crunching it in, extending, keeping that knee bent, thigh almost parallel to the ground, just seeing how far you can raise it. Closer to the shoulder, we'll get a little more glute activation, continuing to crunch it in, and then coming back down. Take a cat-cow to loosen up a little, moving as you need to, and extending the left leg, engaging the glute, reaching out the arm and crunching. Exhale to crunch, inhale, extend. Exhaling to crunch, inhaling to extend. Grounding down to that left hand and right knee. Continue these crunches at your own pace. Continue to move with your breath, feeling that connection with your body. Crunching and extending, crunching and extending. Hand comes back down to the ground for donkey kicks, kicking the left leg up, engaging the left glutes, rounding down through the hands and the right knee, just continuing to kick up, bring it down, kicking up, bringing it down, really feeling that glute activation, kicking up higher to activate the glutes even more, finding that strength before bringing in the knee to the elbow, getting into those obliques and the glutes, crunching forward, seeing how high you can lift that knee. The higher it is, the more activation you'll get in the glutes. So just crunching it in, coming back, crunching in, coming back. Come back to neutral spine. Take a cat-cow to loosen up the spine and the abs. And engaging the abs, come up onto the toes, floating the knees off the ground. First with the right foot, and then with the left foot, step it out to the side of your mat. drawing the navel to the spine to activate the core, just stepping out and stepping out. Keeping that core activated, feeling strength through the legs, grounding down through the hands to activate the shoulders as well. Continue to step out and bring it in, stepping out and bringing it in. Last one, and then press up into downward dog, taking a moment to pedal out the feet, loosen up the hips, grounding down through the hands, finding length through the spine. On your next inhale, go ahead and pick up both heels and then drop them over to the right side of your mat to get in a big stretch through the hamstrings. Breathing into it, and then inhaling back up to center and dropping over to the other side, getting that same stretch in through the other hamstring. Really loosening everything up here before bringing it back to center and seeing if you can drop the heels a little closer to the earth now. On your next inhale, round the back, coming to plank, and as you exhale, push back into downward dog. We'll take a few rounds of these, rounding into plank and pushing back to downward dog. Still just moving with your breath, feeling that connection. Rounding the back to plank and exhaling back downward dog. Round it out to plank and exhale to down dog. One more round, rounding forward and exhaling it back, downward dog. Take one breath in down dog and come back forward to plank for a few Chaturanga Push-Ups. So lowering down, keeping the elbows close to the body, rising, lowering, coming back up, lowering down, pressing back up, and lowering down, press back up for one more. Lower it down, and then take your vinyasa into upward facing dog, and then exhaling back to downward facing dog. Take a breath here, and then shift back into plank, grounding down through the right hand and coming into side plank. Engaging the right obliques to push the hips up a little higher, finding strength in that hand, strength through the abs. Continuing to breathe, inhaling and exhaling before planting the hand and flowing through your vinyasa. Upward facing dog, and exhaling back to downward facing dog. Taking a breath here, then shifting forward to plank and coming into side plank on the left side. Left hand grounding down, right hips pushing towards the sky, engaging the left obliques. Take a deep breath and plant the right hand and flow through your vinyasa. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Take a breath in down dog, and then lift the right leg for three-legged dog, opening up the hip, and then planting the right foot behind you for flipped dog. Finding strength through the legs, opening up the heart, reaching the hand out long behind you. Take a deep inhale and exhale. Flip it back over, coming into three-legged dog, and then grounding down through the right hand to come into a side plank. Left hand floats up, engaging the obliques, maybe the leg floats up, and then take some crunches, crunching in the knee to the elbow and extending. If you need extra support, you can plant the left knee on the ground, but find that strength, still engaging through the obliques, crunching in your exhales and inhaling to extend. Crunch it in, extend, and then flip it back over to plank, flowing through your vinyasa, upward facing dog to downward facing dog, and take a breath. On your next inhale, the left leg floats up, the hip opens up, and then as you're ready, plant the left foot on the ground for a flipped dog, opening up the heart. If this is too much for you, just stay in that hip opening fire hydrant pose. Breathe into it here, feeling that expansion in the heart and the chest, and then flip it back over, coming in, side plank, left hand rooted on the ground, floating up the leg and then crunching in, right elbow to right knee, inhaling to extend, exhaling to crunch. Inhale, extend and crunch, extend and crunch. finding that strength through the obliques. Once again, if you need to, just drop that left leg for support. Crunch and extend. Engage the core to find your balance. Hold for a moment and then come back to plank. Once again, just flowing through your vinyasa, taking Chaturanga to upward facing dog, and then exhaling to downward facing dog. We'll take a moment here to connect with the breath, inhaling and exhaling, being present in our bodies once again before we shift forward the plank and lower all the way down to our bellies for a few rounds of locust. So planting the tops of the feet on the ground, arms beside you, palms facing down, inhale to rise. Engaging the whole back of the body, floating the heels up, floating the head up, gazing down to protect the neck. Take a deep inhale and sigh it out to come down. Next we'll take a bind behind the back for our next round of locust. So take that deep inhale and rise, engaging the back, pulling the shoulders up a little more through that bind through the back, continuing to inhale and exhale, and lowering down. Moving on to floor bow if you have it, grasping the ankles and then pulling up the biggest heart opener. Engaging the feet, pulling the legs back towards the back of your mat to really lift up the chest, finding a huge heart opener here, continuing to breathe, maybe causing you to rock back and forth, and then gently lower it down. And as you're ready, press it back up to downward dog. Take a deep breath here before shifting forward the plank and stepping the right foot to the outside of your mat, tapping and coming back. Tapping out, back to center, tap, come back, tap, 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 tap. Left foot taps, out and in, out and in, tap, 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 and plant. Now opposite hands touch opposite shoulders, keeping the navel drawn to the spine to engage the core, moving as little as possible as you tap back and forth, alternating hands to alternating the shoulders. Find that strength here, engage the core, work through it, tapping back and forth, continuing to breathe before you lower down the Chaturanga to upward facing dog and downward facing dog. Once again, taking a breath to reconnect, floating up the right leg and crunching it into the elbow, extending, crunching in, extending the three-legged dog, crunching into the elbow, extending, crunching it in, extend, crunch, extend, crunch, extend, crunch, and hold. Shift it back and forth between your elbows, from your left elbow to right, left to right, left to right. Finding that core engagement before stepping it back to three-legged dog and flipping it over for flipped dog again to open up the core, open up the heart, stretch everything out, a counter pose to all that crunching. Flip it back over to three-legged dog and flow through your vinyasa, Chaturanga to upward facing dog and downward facing dog. Take a breath here and then float the left leg up, preparing to crunch it in, inhaling to extend, exhaling to crunch, inhaling to extend, exhaling, crunching knee to elbow, extend, crunch, and extend, crunch it in, and extend, crunch it in, and extend, crunch it in again, and move it back and forth, alternating elbows, finding that engagement through the core, from left to right, left to right, left to right, and extend it back, three-legged dog, flipping over to flip dog, pointing that left foot, opening up the heart, stretching out the core, undoing the crunching, and as you're ready, flipping it back over to three-legged dog, and flowing through your vinyasa, chaturanga, to upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here to reconnect, inhaling and exhaling, finding the breath, being present in your body, and then as you're ready, shifting forward to plank, and preparing for our next exercise, coming down onto the forearms, and then alternating the hips from side to side, rocking back and forth, engaging the core, feeling the obliques do some work here, right to left, right to left. See how far you can get it with keeping a flat back, a strong core, strong obliques, left to right, continuing to breathe, right, left, right, left, and bring it back to neutral, coming up into a plank, back to the forearms, up onto the hands, back to the forearms, engaging the core and the shoulders again here, really finding that functional strength, bringing it up, and then back to downward dog. Take a breath and reconnect. Then making your way to the top of your mat, inhaling to halfway lift, and exhaling to fold. Go ahead and plant the hands, moving into crow pose, planting the knees on the backs of the arms, floating the toes up, finding that strength, gently rocking forward to lift the toes off the ground. Finding strength through the core to hold it here, and if you can, shoot back to plank and flow through your vinyasa, upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Deep breath, and then make your way back to the top of the mat for Malasana squat, yogi squat. Knees wide, hands at your heart center, feet planted on the ground. If you need a little extra support here, you can plant a block underneath you. But otherwise, we're going to take a little bit of a heart opener. First, planting the right hand down, lifting up through the left. You can take a bind here if you'd like to, reaching behind your back around the right leg, opening up the heart, getting in a little spinal twist, continuing to breathe into it, inhaling and exhaling before coming back to the center and taking it the other way. Right arm reaching long, and then coming behind you if you want to take that bind, left arm reaching around the left leg to meet it. Finding that spinal twist, breathing, opening up the heart, taking a moment to relax after all that ab work before we finish it out. So coming back to center. Take one more breath here, opening up the hips, finding a little strength in the legs. Inhaling and exhaling, connecting with the breath, and then releasing the hands and gently rocking back along the spine. Take a couple rolls if it feels good to you, loosening up the spine, and then we'll meet in high boat pose. Your legs can be bent or straight, grounding down through the pelvis, finding strength in the abs, and then lowering down to low boat, raising up to high boat. Exhale to low boat. Inhale to rise back up to high boat. Low boat. Inhale to rise and hold. Low boat. High boat. And then grab your oar and we'll pedal back and forth, reaching towards alternating hips, kind of like a Russian twist. Once again, legs can be extended long or bent, really engaging through the core, getting some work into those obliques, back and forth, alternating hip to alternating hip, continuing to breathe here. Come back to high boat and low boat and fold, finding that strength through the abs, and then coming onto your back, feet lifted high above you, lowering down and inhaling to lift them back up, exhaling to lower the legs, and inhaling to bring them back up. Exhale to lower, and inhale to rise. Exhale, lower the legs, inhale, bring them back up. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, inhale, lift. Lower, and lift. Lower, and lift, lower and lift, continuing to breathe, feeling that strong core, lower, lift, and then bringing the hands behind the head, bringing opposite legs down for scissor kicks, right heel down and rise as the left heel drops, scissor kicks up and down, really finding engagement through that core, finding that strength, continuing to alternate legs, continuing to breathe, up and down, yogi scissors. And then bring it all in, and we'll give ourselves a little hug, thanking ourselves for all the work we've done, and then stretching out long, lengthening out the abs before planting the feet and preparing for bridge. Arms beside us, and inhaling to bring the hips up, engaging through the glutes, the back, grounding down through the feet, grounding down through the shoulders, still finding that strength and continuing to breathe. Inhale and exhale. Exhale to bring it down. Arms reach up above you and lift again. We'll pulse it up. Pulse, drop, pulse, down, pulse, down, pulse it up, bring it down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, hold, and lower. If it's in your practice, our next pose will be wheel pose, planting the hands on either side of the ear, and then engaging the whole body to lift up, really finding a big heart opener and stretching out the whole front of the body that's done so much work for us today. Continuing to breathe here, this is truly the pinnacle of our practice where our hearts are the most open. Take another deep breath to fill up the body. Hold it at the top, and then exhale to lower back down onto the back. Our counter pose here will be Superbadaknosana, Reclined Butterfly, feet together, knees wide, one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, feeling that breath enter through the lungs, go down to your belly, feeling that expansion and feeling that exhale as you sigh out anything you might be still holding on to as we close out our practice here. Come back to your body, be grateful for what you've done. We'll move into figure four next, planting the feet on the ground and taking the right ankle over the left thigh. You can stay here or reach for the left leg, pulling it closer to you for a more intense hip stretch. Listen to your body and feel what it needs. Take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Feel that connection with the breath. Your body is thanking you for everything you've done for it today. Go ahead and release, planting both feet on the ground before bringing the left ankle up to cross over the right thigh. Once again, you can stay here, or if you need a more intense stretch, you can reach for the right shin, right thigh, and just bring those legs to you. We'll hold this for a few more breaths again, just allowing the body to release, allowing the muscles to relax. Really just finding peace here before we close out our practice. Allowing everything that's tight to go ahead and release. Allowing everything you might still be holding on to release with each exhale. Begin to find your peace as we come towards Shavasana. Your next exhale, release, planting both feet on the ground, and then reaching for opposite sides of the feet for happy baby. Knees coming in towards the armpits, towards the shoulder. You can rock back and forth if that feels good to you, just getting in this final hip opener before we finish our practice. Continuing to breathe and preparing for our final resting pose. As you're ready, make your way there. Releasing the feet, legs coming out long, arms resting beside you. We have nothing left to do here today. We've done so much work, engaged the front of the core, the obliques, the lower back. You should be proud of yourself for everything we've done here. This was an intense practice, but go forth feeling strong and energized. You can stay in Shavasana, or if you're ready, make your way over onto one side and up into a seated position. Thank you for practicing with me here today. Namaste.